Hi everyone, it's Billy here again from 47 Wolves, All I Am. Welcome and thank you very much for joining me here today. Today we're going to be chatting with Lucy Becks from Lulu Belle Therapies. Lucy has a great, beautiful passion for helping women in midlife and empowering midlife women. We're going to be talking about all things menopause and all the facets that comes with being a midlife woman, and very holistic approach from a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual sense perspective. A lot of great information. I hope you enjoy it. Lucy brings with her heart and her passion for this particular area. And if you're a gentleman out there or someone that's not quite in that category, please hold with us and enjoy it as well, because I think there's a lot of good information for partners and people that have loved ones going through this particular phase of their lives, and how you can hold space and have more understanding. So hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much again for joining me, and I hope you're well. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. It's Billy here again from 47 Wolves, All I Am. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today we're welcoming the beautiful Lucy Becks from Lulu Belle Therapies. Welcome, Lucy. Lucy's a women's holistic wellness space holder. I love that terminology. Also qualified as a medical intuitive reflexologist, Reiki teacher, crystal healing. So there's a whole range of modalities that Lucy studied over the years. And welcome, Lucy, and thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thanks, Billy. Thanks so much. And it's so great that we could connect in this way, and having this opportunity to speak to you. Thank you.
Very good, very good. And I guess we might begin with just a bit of your backstory, if you don't mind, your journey to what's led you, obviously, to start and then to get to where we are here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I immigrated from Zimbabwe about 20 years ago, and just so grateful that I can call Australia home. So I had to leave Zimbabwe under political unrest that was going on there, and decided on Australia and started a new life here. But I suppose my real story began with my infertility journey in my early 20s, where I underwent a lot of visits to specialists and doctors and all different types of people. And I was always interested in an alternative, I suppose I'm doing inverted commas, the alternative therapies. But yeah, I just had to get on top of what was going on in my body. And eventually, after seeing many specialists, I went and saw a naturopath and a homeopath. And then I found a reflexologist. So I was really interested to see what a reflexologist could do for me. And my husband and I both went to see this reflexologist that was about 2 hours away from us, because we lived on a farm. And yeah, we went for about 6 months, and yeah, within that 6 months, I actually fell pregnant naturally.
Beautiful. Wow.
So that's where it really began, with the reflexology. And yeah, so my son was born in the middle of an African thunderstorm 25 years ago. And yeah, we'd never had any more children, but yeah, he kept us busy and kept us on our toes. And so that's where my love of reflexology first began, and always feeling connected to alternative therapies and herbs, and loved all my herb garden. But yeah, starting a life in a new country, trying to learn the whole systems and how everything worked, I had to go back to doing what I knew, and that was financial administration. So basically that's what I did for probably the last 18 years or so. And yeah, I was enjoyed my work when I was there, and but I think started feeling in the last sort of 5 years like this isn't for me anymore with the administration work. And so yeah, and I studied reflexology, all because of that one thing that helped me in the past. And then, as you were saying in your intro, that about crystal healing and all of Reiki and medical intuition, I added those to other modalities to what I was already doing. And that's how I've come up with reflexology for the soul. And that's why I call myself an intuitive reflexologist, because I draw on all those modalities, and it's really hard to explain. So when I say to someone, they ask me, what is intuitive reflexology? So I just say, okay, well, it's reflexology infused with Reiki energy healing. And that's the simplest way I can put it. But it's so much more, because every single session someone will come to is different, because I've got crystal healing grids under the bed. I've got oracle healing cards. I have spiritual download messages for that person. And then at the end of the session, we do an audio, and then that person can take the audio and go and work on whatever that they feel resonated during the session. But the biggest thing I say is just take what you need from the session, and what doesn't land for you, don't worry about it. It might land like in a few months' time, might not at all. But I think the biggest thing I'd like to instill in my clients is that they're responsible for their health and their well-being, and it's up to them to go and research whatever's come up in the session. I won't tell them what they have to do, but I can only just guide them in that whole journey of what they're going through. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at with reflexology.
Very good, very good. I love the principle behind that. I'm very much similar. That we're empowering people, aren't we? Like when you're doing what you do, people quite often in today's society will go to a GP or a doctor and look for the pill and look for the quick fix. But what it sounds like you're doing, similar to me, is empowering the person to do the research themselves. You can guide them and mentor them if you need to, and then help them along their way. But ultimately, it's up to each individual and your clients to find their own path, and to do what aligns with them, and take that accountability, and not rely on external people or things to make them better. Fair to say.
Yeah, and I believe there's no magic pill, there's no overnight cure. It's when I talk to people, I always say it's a work in progress, and my whole life is a work in progress, because everything's evolving and changing all the time. So there is magic to be had, but there's just no overnight cure for anything.
I love, Lucy, what you were saying with the holistic viewpoint, but with the Reiki as well, Reiki and even the medical intuitive, because that's sort of all the overlaps that come within all the modalities that you've done. I'm fairly similar, and I always sort of say that Reiki for me was sort of like the centerpiece, I guess, if for want of another word. So when I've done aromatherapy or other modalities, there's always that universal energy that you're incorporating into the session, like you said, with crystals, with sound healing, with other parts of what Reiki is, to help the client along the way. Not just in your case reflexology. So obviously they're feeling you touch their feet and you're doing that part, but you're using the energy as well. So they quite often might not even know what they're feeling or why they're feeling it, but they would be feeling different to someone that doesn't necessarily use that intuitive practice.
And I say that the feet are the energetic portal to the soul. So as soon as I touch the feet, I feel the energy, and so lots of things can come up, and it can seem really random at the time. It can be about foods, it can be about flowers, crystals, herbs, foods to eat, foods not to eat. It can be about supplements. It can be so random. But I think it's just the touching on just little things that can help, and it can be about blocked chakras, just things to help them, I suppose, in their everyday life, but also going forward, and how they can use that information to do that research, because it's actually quite mind-blowing, because when they do look into it, it's there's a lot of information there for them that they can work on. So the feet I find is a very energetic feeling when I touch them, but we're picking up energies and emitting energies from our feet all the time. So the feet are very important. And the other one I always tell people is wear sensible shoes. Well, wear shoes that are, comfortable, and that you're not damaging, the way you walk, or yeah.
Oh, because there's so many nerves and everything down there in your feet, and you're putting your whole body weight on there, aren't you? Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I love you. You just mentioned the word chakras. For anyone that's listening that hasn't heard of the term chakras or doesn't fully understand, it's another name for wheel, and it's basically our energy points that we've got 7 main ones through the body, but then we've got well over 100 other smaller or minor ones. But so how do you work with the chakras? Obviously, that's part of Reiki.
Yeah. So basically, when with the chakras, as soon as somebody actually even books in for appointment, and so I've got different services, but the one is intuitive reflexology for the soul. Well, I call it reflexology for the soul. And then I've got another service just for Thai foot massage. So if someone comes for Thai foot massage, I know why they're coming. It's just for relaxation. And then if someone comes for reflexology for the soul, then I know they're wanting to know a bit more of what's going on. So when someone books in for the reflexology for the soul, as soon as they book in, I start getting receiving messages and downloads, and it's just so intuitive about which chakra it is, and then basically what comes up during the actual session, I will help balance that chakra, but that they are also doing it as well, because they're getting the information to take and to go and do that. So say if it was a solar plexus chakra, that's all about the ego and the identity, and also the color yellow. So I would say, bring in some citrine into your life. Even if you put a piece of citrine in your pocket, or wear something yellow, put a yellow scarf on. So that's it's including them in the journey. So I'm not actually doing it for them, although the actual session is energetic. And I do feel like, working through the chakras, and that helps balance it. But yeah, it's just, that's why I say it can be so random. It's not a specific method. If yeah, that's hard to explain.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. Being a Reiki practitioner myself, I always say that to my clients that don't have any expectations really, because this session may go. It's going to go down that path that whatever comes to you or me intuitively. So there's you've got a few things that, well, for me anyway, personally, do certain things, but ultimately it's whatever comes to you intuitively. And so I like the fluidness of a Reiki session. Yeah, because you're literally you're feeling and intuitively feeling what's coming to you for the higher good and for the good of your client, and they're a part of that process. So they intuitively know, without even knowing consciously, what they need and what their body wants, and what, like you said, what chakras are possibly out of alignment and that need balancing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I've actually got a course called the Chakra Harmony, Empowering Midlife Woman. So that course I designed specifically for women in midlife, and I think there's 9 or 10 modules in there, with a lot of information. So I incorporate healing, sound healing with the solfeggio healing frequencies, spiritual flowers, essential oils, all things that can help women, just help them align their chakras during midlife. So yeah, that's it's so important with the self-care for women, especially going through the menopausal phase. And I think I like to say that we've done all the hard work leading up into like our late 40s, 50s, and now it's our turn to, look after ourselves. We've looked after the kids and done all the career stuff. And, some of us might still be in careers, but it's still, I like to say whatever we do now is so important, because it sets us up for the future. So if we can really look after ourselves during this phase, we have better proof of future proofing ourselves for the next phase, and which apparently there's a re-emergence phase from menopause, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah,
Mm.
and like you say, menopause, it's such a different. It's up to every individual. Every individual lady goes through different circumstances, don't they? Like with
Yeah.
the length of time that the whole menopause goes for,
Mm.
what symptoms, for want of another word,
Yeah.
and what challenges that brings up for each person.
Yeah, and then, and it starts off with perimenopause, so that can start from like 36, even 35 onwards. And yes, it's not the same for everybody. Some people breeze through menopause with hardly any symptoms, but then some other women find they have very severe symptoms, and some people just have like just the run of the mill. But yeah, so women can experience early menopause for certain situations, whether it be surgical or they've been through some kind of treatment, which can bring on early menopause. And for that, for those women, I really feel for, because I don't think there's much out there, even with the doctors, that to help them, apart from saying, okay, well, we've got hormonal therapy, replacement therapy, and that can help you. And it can, but I've also learned it's also the psychology of it as well, and that affects us. So not only are you going through all these symptoms, but it also affects you not just physically, but psychologically. So it's then trying to get through that, with your mind, and especially, you've done the perimenopause, but now you're right in the thick of the menopause, and it's like, yeah, it's jumping into a frying pan. It's like, um, so yeah, I mean, personally, I take HRT, I take estrogen patches, and when there was a worldwide shortage last year or the year before, um, it was really harsh, because I've tried to come off it a couple of times and just didn't work. And then I actually could not get any patches for about 6 weeks. So I was off it
Wow.
for 6 weeks, but it affected me physically, but also mentally. And yeah, that was really, I want to say crap. Am I allowed to say
Yeah,
crap?
no, you're allowed, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's part of
Uh,
reality, isn't it? And it's
yeah.
part of what you ladies go through physically and, like you say, mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
even spiritually. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and spiritually, I think with women in their 40s become very intuitive. And I think that's due to like life experiences, and then it's just rolled into, going through all this hormonal stuff. But because they've had all those life experiences, they're very quick intuitively, because they don't want to waste their energy on anything. They want to cut through the bullshit, and yeah, this is their time. It's their time
Yes.
right here, right now.
Yeah.
And but I also like to say there's also magic in this phase as well, because you've had those life experiences, and now you want to conserve your energy, and that's when you start doing things that you want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know, if you've ever seen or read the book or seen the movie The Shift from Wayne Dyer, he talks about moving from the morning of life to the afternoon of life.
mm,
He put it that in those terms, and for the ladies, I can't remember the exact list, but yeah, it's your priorities change, don't they? When you hit your 40s, you know, I don't really like the term midlife crisis, but like it's an opportunity for ladies, as we're talking about now, and gentlemen as well, to explore. Like you've done the work, and for women, like you're a mother, you're a wife. Quite often, you've got all these other labels and responsibilities. If you want a career, you've got that as well. And suddenly you find yourself, okay, well the kids are growing up now. I can start to take a breath and start to focus on my own health, whether that be physical or mental, and you're not giving away who you are. Well, you'll always be there for your children and everyone else, but you're sort of starting to prioritise yourself and fill your own cup up before, and recognise that, where probably 20s and 30s as a mum, and you testify to this, it's hard work, and quite often your kids always come first, so you're quite often running on empty a lot of times. So if you've been doing that for a number of years, even possibly a couple of decades, you reach a point when your menopause hits and you suddenly go, oh, hang on, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of women get adrenal fatigue later on in life, because their bodies can't keep doing what they've been doing. So like what you said, in your 20s and 30s, your body actually is not made to do that in your 40s and 50s. So and I think that's where when you hit that midlife phase, it's your body says, no, I can't do that anymore. And that's when I think we have to start listening to what our bodies are saying. And yeah.
So when you talk,
sorry.
no, you're right. I was just going to say, when you talk intuitively, and you mentioned before that ladies' intuition or not peaks but builds up. It's about knowing your own body as well, isn't it? Like intuitively saying, okay, well, my body's not liking the way I'm pushing myself, and things need to change. So you start to listen to your own body intuitively. As well.
And I think it kicks in the 40s, and we just I actually had this similar conversation the other day about giving our power away. So this is when we've got to be careful of being our own health advocates and not just entrusting everything to a doctor, because the doctor, and I think about doctors east and west can meet, and there is power in that, and science and Eastern philosophies, but this can happen in any situation, even holistically, where you've got to tune into your body and yourself and what is good for you, and not necessarily just do what the doctor says or the holistic doctor says or whoever says you have to do. Does it sit well with you? And that's about taking your power back and being your own health advocate.
Yep, definitely. So your the Women's Midlife Collective, you mentioned that before, that you obviously have a huge passion. You can hear that, and I know from your website and I mean you're living and breathing it, because you're obviously a lady that's gone through and going through that process. So you have that empathy as well for other ladies, but you provide a platform for not just your one-on-one clients, but you bring them together as well.
Yeah, so the Women's Midlife Collective started probably a couple of years ago, and that's all about bringing women together who are going through perimenopause, menopausal phase, but just bringing them together so they can have open conversations, and just also so that they can not necessarily learn from each other, but pick up what works for one person might not work for another. But even just knowing another person's journey and how they get through it, you can pick up things that can help you as well, but also to be seen and heard as well. Because, we were talking about how isolating it can be going through this journey, because a lot is happening to your body. And you're like, well, there's, fatigue, there's brain fog, there's all different symptoms that you can get. I mean, a big one is weight gain for women in midlife, and that can be quite a sense of sadness, because you're trying to find solutions to help lose weight, but that's not all that's going on. There's so much going on, and just to come together with other women and be able to converse and have those conversations in an open, I suppose you call it a forum. I don't know if I like that word, but so, and we have a bit of ceremony as well around that. So I'm trying to do those every month. So I've got another one coming up in April, but I haven't fixed a date yet. I think it's going to be mid-April. And
I love the concept. We were talking off air that my wife, I've got her permission to talk about this, but she's gone through menopause, and she got it quite early, I think 37, 38. And when we were chatting before, she said things like she felt like she was going crazy. We went through the all the different remedies, and hormone replacement therapy didn't quite work for her. Maybe they weren't getting the balance right. So yeah, and as a husband, as a partner, it's a real challenge to watch your loved one go through what they're going through. And I think it's great that. Really important for any ladies out there to communicate to your partner and include them in. I think you said, Lucy, before, include them in on how you're feeling, but it's also great for your relationship as well, because otherwise, and I can only talk from personal experience, if you don't do that, then you do go through phases where, because we're sitting there observing, for want of another word, we feel a bit helpless as husbands. We're like, oh, our loved one's going through what they're going through. We don't physically understand what they're feeling and everything else, but we want to be there for them, but we can't quite understand what's happening because this is all new, and again, personal experience. But I'd say that as a really important cog for any ladies out there, either starting that process or going through it, just to try to include your husbands and sit down with them. But outside of that, tied in with what you were just saying, I love the fact that you've provided that platform, or you have that platform now, for the ladies to get together and share their experiences, share their knowledge and understandings, and even be heard. So critical for not just maybe not their physical health. They might pick up on things, but knowing that someone's there to give them a hug and listen to someone in a group and go, that's how I'm feeling. Like, wow, I'm not alone in this journey. I've found people that are going through the same thing, that are sharing that similar experiences. So we didn't have that. We didn't have someone like you around 15, 20 years ago, and I wish we had, because it would have really provided Loretta, my wife, that platform to go and talk to other people going through the same experiences. So thank you for your services.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it can be very isolating, and it's also difficult for the partner and the husband, and it's like you say, they're physically not going through it, and they're just witnessing what's going on, in front of them. But if women can just, and I know it's difficult because they're going through so much, and there's different phases. There's another phase called rage as well, and they call it the burning down of the house. Like, it's like, I want to say, stuff this all and just burn the whole house down. And but those moments are very short-lived, and then they're also regrettable. So poor husbands and partners have to dance around that a bit, which is amazing. But I think they also, if women can include their husband in the journey, I think it will make it a lot more smooth. And in fact, my cousin's husband, they had someone come to their work and talk about menopausal women in the workplace, which I thought was amazing.
That's incredible,
yeah, and when I spoke to him, he was so chuffed that, and he felt included in the conversation. And he was like, oh, and telling me all about my cousin, but, saying, and he felt really included in the conversation. And I think we should do that more.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, and communication's the key, isn't it? Yeah. What have you found in your experiences with the ladies? Like, we've talked about, I love how you're doing that, coming from a holistic viewpoint. So we're talking today about physical health, diet, exercise, all those things. You mentioned about putting weight on. Then we've got obviously your mental health as well, because going through menopause is just very, very challenging. Your whole body's going through all sorts of things which can affect your mental health, especially when you can't fix it straight away. You've got to go through that process, and it is, in many ways, it's a beautiful journey, I guess. And I don't want this to come across as nonchalant, but it is an opportunity for the ladies to explore where they're at and what's, like you said before. So do you find that that's all tied in with whatever they've gone through leading up to that? So in their, they're even from younger years to early years in their 20s and 30s. Is that a part of what each individual goes through holistically, like traumas and stress and their lifestyle, everything else? Is that incorporated?
Yeah, because anything traumatic or any emotions has got to come out in some way, whether it be through the body, through your voice. It's got to find its way out, and when it doesn't, that's when you're just compounding that on your body. But I think in women in their 40s, I spoke about how their intuition, kicks up a level, but also they are looking for more spiritual awakening. Well, not necessarily spiritual awakening, but they're looking for more spiritualism. And that's when we come together in circle, I offer a bit of that where we do a channel, I do a channeled meditation. We might have a cacao ceremony. We'll have oracle cards. And then then afterwards we just sit and talk, and so there's a bit in for the individual as a just to come for themselves, but then also as a group to share their stories as more of a collective. And yeah, so it's, I suppose they're getting something out of each part.
Yeah, absolutely, and the power of the group as well. Like each person's got brings to, let's say, a ceremony that you hold, or you host. They're bringing their own energies and their own stories and everything else. By sharing those, they're off quite often just sharing a problem or sharing something that we're going through, can offload some of the stress and the negative sort of energy, I guess. But then I'd imagine, just being in other ceremonies as a guy, that collective coming together as a collective with like-minded people and people that are raising their energies collectively, and that all compounds. So I would imagine how beneficial that would be for each individual as individual people, but as a collective. And then being able to walk, finish the ceremony and walk to go home and go back to work and go back to your life with that renewed energy and renewed viewpoints and perspectives would be pretty beneficial, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I think, I say together we're stronger. And one of my favorite quotes, it's really quite simple, is we rise by lifting others. And yeah, so just I think the more we come together, the stronger that we get. And so to be on a path, on a lonely path, is very isolating. And if you can come together, it's bringing the whole collective energy up, and your own. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's I've mentioned this in a couple of other podcasts and just even a few conversations lately. The For want of another terminology, I've heard it called a paradigm shift that we are entering in, or I think we're in the middle of, where we're seeing a change in mindset from going from a very competitive, isolated, us versus them sort of mentality. And to be successful, you have to be, in business or any other places,
Mhm.
sport, whatever it is. I have to beat them. I have to take something from them for me to be successful. Where I feel like you've just uh, provided a beautiful example how we're starting to enhance each other's experiences and coming together as people, whether in your case the women's circle and the women's ceremony, but we're here to help each other. And that's
Mhm.
how they did it in ancient times, that they had their tribes or their communities, depending on where they were in the world, but they come together, and from the elders down to the children, they all help each other. And that was the way they did it, and that's the way they still do it in many circles around the life. And I feel like we're starting to head down that path, and so people like yourself doing what you do, I feel like it's you're playing your role.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. And because it's like when I first start a circle, I usually say something along the lines that women used to come together in ceremony and support each other, where they, used to look after each other's children. If it was the time of the month, they would actually be secluded from the rest of the, I suppose you call it the town, but they would be looked after and fed nourishing food, while the rest of the village looks after their children or whatever. So there was always that point where they had time to, I suppose, recuperate and nurture their body. and then come back and be able to give back as well. So there was a lot of that going on, and yeah, so just supports women supporting each other, and somewhere along the line, that whole thing has become lost, and yeah, it's time to bring that together and see that we're not in competition, and we're here to help each other.
Yep, yep. And
Yeah.
you look at the. I was talking to someone recently, and they just come from Mexico and spent time with the Mayans. Dr. Nikki from another podcast, but she really emphasised how people that live in those cultures have a real reverence for everything around them, whether it be nature and trees and each other, and they have a really spiritual connection, and they've had that for centuries and centuries. So I think you're right, Lucy, that we're starting to come back to that, and that spiritual journey that you talked about before, with the ladies hitting their late 30s, 40s. Maybe intuitively they know that that's the path that they need to start reconnecting to other people and other people in the community, but also at the same time they're learning more, rediscovering more about themselves and who they are inside. So that's that spiritual side you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So another thing that I have going at the moment as well is once a month we meet on the new moon, and all women are welcome. I don't know if I should invite the men or not, but all
But
women
no,
are welcome because yeah, we're talking about all women's stuff. But we go meet at the botanical gardens, and we have a walking spiritual meditation. And yeah, so we try and do that on the new moon, because for women that haven't got a cycle to follow anymore, I try and encourage to use the lunar cycles, because in that way they have something to guide them, and something to is to help shift their focus. Because when women were menstruating and things, they each cycle had a different phase during the cycle, where you would quieten down, and then you would have the energy to do stuff, and then the cycle goes on. So women who are no longer having that cycle need something else to, I suppose, concentrate, where they don't want to say power, but where the energy lies, because it just helps them, I think, especially with the lunar cycles, to make the shifts and changes that they need, and just also an awareness of, okay, well, it's time to do this, or it's time to do that. And I think that I find that really powerful.
oh, for sure, yeah, yeah. I love that you mentioned the new moon and the moon cycle, because I mean that new moon. My understanding is that there's 3 or 4 days, that balsamic period before the new moon hits. That's a real reset and reflection time to just go, right. Let's pause. Let's just sit down and give yourself permission to do that, to reset for the next phase, to as the moon's waning, to build up, and like you said, yeah, and it's connecting with nature as well. Like if you think about your the menstrual cycle, pretty
Mm.
much for a lot of women was in line with the moon, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Has
and
been that case for a long time. Yeah.
yeah, and especially like if women come together, like if they all live in one house, they usually end up becoming aligned in the same cycle with each other,
Yes.
which is quite fascinating. But yeah, there's definitely something to be had there, because we talk about ebbs and flows, and there's a rhythm to everything. And nature, it's the sunrises and the sunsets, and the seasons, and summer, autumn, spring, but we have that in our bodies as well. And if we can find where that's at, I think we'll be better aligned, because I mean, personally, myself, nature is my go-to. That's where I go. I ground, I reset, I connect with my guides. Yeah, a bit of magic happens there. And when I don't do it, I feel it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I've done a thing before, Lucy, called conscious walking. Is that
Mhm.
Conscious walking is just basically learnt this over in America from a Huichol tribe from Mexico, and he talked about for an while we were there for a week. I only mention this quickly, but for about an hour each day, we're in the meadows and the paddocks, but beautiful surroundings. But we literally were, you might take 5 minutes to take a couple of steps. You were moving so slowly, and we were really encouraged to listen to and everything just slows down physically, physiologically. Everything slows down, so your senses peak. So suddenly you can hear things. You're feeling the grass between your toes. Because you're barefooted, obviously, and you're feeling the slightest breezes. You can hear noises. You can see things. The clarity regains because you've slowed everything down. That is that similar to what you're talking about with the walking meditation?
Yeah, so we it's really what's the word? Informal. So
Yes,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
yeah, grab a coffee, meet there, chat, walk. We'll usually stop and do a meditation. Yeah, it's just whatever happens, happens. But yeah, I can totally see what you're saying about being conscious and aware of what's around you. And I did some somatic training, facilitator training a couple of weeks ago, and there's so much that the body is trying to tell you. And it can be like the slowest movement, it can be the quickest movement. It's like earlier we touched on about trauma and emotions. In some way, it's got to be released, and it could be through moving your body. And but yeah, I love what you said. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it was really good. The and but connecting with nature itself, like I love the fact that it is informal because that means people are relaxed and they can just let their guard down, they're in a safe space, they can chat openly and confidentially, obviously, but surrounded by nature at the same time. You go to the botanical garden, so you're surrounded by nature. Well, I don't know if you're barefooted, but that doesn't really matter. But the fact that you're going through that journey together, walking, sharing stories, yeah, I
Yeah,
can imagine that'd be
yeah.
amazing for the ladies involved. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so amazing because that, in fact, Mauritius Botanical Gardens is one of my favorite places on the Sunshine Coast. And yeah, that's my me time. So I go there on my own quite a bit. And yeah, it's just yeah, being conscious of the surroundings and the trees and the leaves and the breezes. And I don't go barefoot because I mean you can stop and take your shoes and socks off, but yeah, I have seen a few snakes there. So
Time and a place. Yeah.
I actually nearly stood on one the other day. I had a group of people with me and I nearly stood on one. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would keep my shoes on if I was you, but
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
see there's a place
Yeah.
for grounding. And yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got bush trails and things like that. I don't usually go in there until probably about May, June. And yeah, because I'm just very conscious of what goes on in the bush.
And for those that are listening, we're on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland in Australia. So yeah, you've heard of our snakes, and they're real. They're there. So yeah, definitely good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, the botanical gardens is a beautiful spot. I love how you're incorporating the nature. It's sort of like a resetting as well, isn't it? Like you said, you go there yourself. I do that plenty of times myself. And it's a great opportunity for people to, if they're living in the city or they're living in even in high density areas where there's a lot of concrete and
Mhm.
quite often you can't even see a lot of the stars. Maybe a couple of percent of the overall stars compared to being out in the country.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's a real opportunity for them to, for you and for the ladies to get out with nature and just be in amongst the trees and the flowers and the plants and yeah, breathe that fresh air. There's so many benefits to it.
Mhm.
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, it's just all encompassing. Yeah.
Mm. Even if you can't do it every day, I mean, 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, most cities have parks and botanical gardens in the cities as well. But I also have a lot of plants, pot plants, which drives my husband crazy, but I have reduced them. But yeah, I have quite a few in, like, even in my office now. I've got one, two, three, four. I've got four big plants in here.
So,
Um,
so, so
yeah,
even if
so
you're inside, you've got nature around you. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because we can get lost in that, can't we? Like if we're in these days with high density housing, and yeah, we can get into that environment there where there's not a lot of nature around us,
Mm.
and if you then become in addition to that, you're busy with work and life and everything else, and you don't consciously make the decision to go out in nature, whether it's just a quick walk each day or once a week or how often you've got. But and I love the fact you're doing it on the new moon, because that's sort of it's something to look forward to for the ladies, I would imagine, because new
Yeah.
moon is a special time, and it allows them to go, right. I'm there. This is my
Mm.
reset time, and yeah, I'm ready to go. Refill my cup up for the month ahead.
Yeah, new moon's my favorite time because it's that reset and the new beginnings. But yeah, what you're saying, like if you can't get to nature and you live in a busy place and it's like you work in an office and it's constant, you barely take your shoes and socks off, that's really difficult. So if my other go-to is water, even if it's just a bath, a soak with Epsom salts, it's like yeah, water is my big restorer. I'm sure I was a mermaid in my prior life.
Well, it's one of the key elementals, isn't it? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And that's yeah, obviously with yeah, fire is not for everybody, but water, I can see why. Water is I'm the same. I'm Pisces, so water is definitely a big part of my life. And even though I'm now in the hinterland, I still enjoy going to the beach or a lake or a creek, or having the water around me. And like you said, just jumping in the bath if you've got one. And yeah,
yeah.
it's just taking that time for a bit of self love as well, isn't it? Just
Mm,
to sit in the
mm,
bath, and not just having a quick shower. I mean, that works for some people, but if you've got the opportunity to take a bath and put the Epsom salts in and just chill out for a while,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's
Um,
I it's almost immeasurable, really, how much even a 10-15 minute bath would do for someone. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
just to have that time to yourselves. Yeah, yep, yep.
Wine is optional.
Wine, yes, why not?
Optional. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what? Obviously, you're a woman that's gone through all this, so you've got the empathy and everything else. I love the drive that you have for turning, guiding or being there. Um, Sorry, my question is around the space holder. I love what you've got on your website, and I think you mentioned it before. But when people talk about holding space and being a space holder, and I love that terminology. What does that mean for you, and what does that mean? How does that benefit the client? What are you doing there from your perspective?
Yeah, I think like you even just said it just now, is it's about the guiding and like I said right at the beginning, it's not about I'm going to tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. It's I'm going to guide you in the way that you need to do it and you feel comfortable with and that's what I mean by holding space. It's I'm there to guide you, but I'm not there to do it for you. So yeah, so the guidance about self-healing processes where I can point you in the right direction, but also the holding space bit is about a lot of what I believe is there's no right or wrong. We spoke about what might work for one person might not work for another. We're so individual that it's mainly just being a good listener and yeah, and just hearing them and so that they can be seen and heard. And yeah, and then they can make those choices to empower themselves, really.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful. And that, I love what you've written about increasing their joy and love in their souls. Did you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, because I think we get so fixated on what's going wrong instead of focusing on what could be going right or what is going right. And like we spoke about ebb and flow. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's shit. It's just it's like, yeah, it's like yeah, it's just I think we're just evolving all the time. And yeah, so it's like maybe just focusing on what is good in your life at the moment. And bad things happen, and yes, how you choose to come back from them, I suppose. And yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
because I talk about, I mean, this month I've been focusing on the word grief, and grief comes in so many different forms and faces and stages, and same thing. There's no right, there's no wrong way of doing it, because it's people talk about the stages of grief. You can have one stage and then jump to stage 5, and oh, but no, I'm back in stage 1. Oh no, I haven't, I'm on stage 3. So it's like and I think women in midlife go through a bit of a grieving process as well, because, their bodies aren't the same, that they've changed, even like their friendships change, their jobs change, they might lose a loved one. There's a whole lot of things going on. And I had this conversation with my cousin about, is this what happens in midlife? Because we had both, I mean, I've lost my brother and my mum, and she had just lost her stepdad. And, we share grandparents, and they've all gone. And it's just like, oh, is this what's going on in midlife? And it's how you get through that process of it. And yeah, but it can be about anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be that someone's passed away. It can be like, my body's changed. Now, how am I going to you know, focus on making my body healthier, and yeah, how am I going to come to terms with it? And yeah, and I think there is still joy to be had, and yeah, you don't have to wait for that re-emergence phase. And
No.
yeah, there's magic, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you said before, we have a choice, females and males, we have a choice on how we perceive. Obviously, like you said, I love it. Just keep it simple. Shit happens in life, and then sometimes things happen that we definitely don't want or didn't expect, and we go through. It doesn't even have to be a physical death in a family or friend, but like you said before, it might be a change, or a loss of job, or a loss of a friendship has gone dissolved, or whatever's happened. So there's always that different scales, I guess, of grieving. And you're definitely right with the whole grieving cycle. It's definitely not linear. It's not okay, we're going to go through stage 1 now, is everyone right now, we're going to go through to stage 2, and then no, that's
No,
not
no,
that's
it's
not how it
messy.
works.
It's messy, and and I think midlife woman, menopause can be messy as well, but it can also be a beautiful thing. And it's yeah, just trying to get through it, and see where the magic is for you. And I think that's why women don't, while they're going through that stage, they don't have time to um, waste on, ineffective things that aren't going to help them wherever they're at. So they're much more honed in on what they want and what they don't want.
Yeah,
Mostly,
and
I
that
think a lot of women know what they don't want, but it's more about, what do I want? And I think that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. What do we want from this phase? Um, yeah.
and because of that, I wouldn't call it urgency, but that you don't want to waste your time. Like let's get this right. And if you've got a positive attitude and you can embrace what's happening for you or to you, I'd say for you, and what you don't want to be sitting there going, oh well, this menopause thing's going to take 10, 15 years. Then I'll be happy. I'll be right then. In the meantime, I've got to suffer, and I've got to be in pain. I've got to do this and that. That's not a real good way to, and you haven't got anything to look forward to if you have that perspective, or that impression that okay, well, this is just what I'm. This is my life now for the
Yeah.
next how many years? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I agree with that, because, you could be 10, 15 years. Some women go through the phase longer than other women. And, it just depends on how it's going to go for you. And yeah, you just got to make the most of the life that you've got.
yeah, yeah. And I guess that grieving process. It doesn't have to be exclusive from everything else, so you don't have to whilst you're going through that grieving process, well, like you said, is different for everybody, and it does chop and change and back and forth and everything else. So, but you can also start to mentally start to embrace what's happening for you and the changes and what this means. So, I guess where I'm coming from there is if you've changed a job or you maybe a bit of your what you're seen as your identity, and so you've been a mother for X amount of years, and now your kids may have left home or gone to college or left home. So that empty nest might be the situation. So you start to go, oh, hang on. So who am I now? If I'm not mum and they don't need me as much anymore, who am I? And so you start to rediscover who you really are, which you may have lost somewhere along the line. So it's a beautiful journey to be then, if you've got that attitude, to start rediscovering who you are again. That would bring me back to what the first question about finding that joy and love. That all starts internally, doesn't it? Like we can look for joy and love outside, and obviously we have relationships and things we like doing, but ultimately it comes back down to how you feel internally and inside.
Yeah. I think if you can focus on, because, that happens, some kids leave home, some don't, but it's like even if they're still at home, your relationship with them has changed because they're adults. And it's deciding on, what do you want to do with your life and where your passions lie. And I got to the point where when I was doing the financial administration, was like, I was literally driving to work thinking, I can't do this anymore. What am I doing? And like mentally I'd left, but I still physically had to go to my job. And it was so good because I recognized that, and I tried to look for ways out of it. But that took a couple of years because I had to go and retrain. I had to, do all those things. And then when an opportunity came up, I was like, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have come about if you hadn't have made that conscious decision, that had that self-awareness and that recognition that, hang on, I'm not happy. This is not working for me anymore. And that in itself is losing that identity. If I don't have this job and I'm not doing this thing I've been doing for X amount of years, then what am I going to do? So there'd be that little phase there. But it takes a fair bit of bravery and courage to then embrace that and to step into that next phase with so many unknowns.
Yeah. And, when I made that decision, I had a lot going on because my mum was unwell, my brother had just passed away. They were both in the UK, and I had a job that I had to go to, but I was lucky enough that I could travel, but I had to work while I was over there. But I was grateful that I had that, still I had that income coming in. But also I got to a stage where I thought, if not now, when, because it just, I was looking for every opportunity to leave, but I couldn't because I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to let my husband down. I didn't want to let myself down. So it was just finding that right opportunity, and it did come. But yeah, I just thought, if I don't start doing these things that I really want to do, well, when am I going to do them? When is it going to happen?
Do you find, Lucy, that is part of that holistic process, and that shift, I guess, as ladies enter into menopause? There's no coincidence that it's normally late 30s to 40s that you enter into that period, which coincidentally, I don't think it's coincidence, but you then start a lot of other changes are happening in your life as well. Do you find that you said the word grateful before, that you're grateful for the fact that you had that awareness and that you were able to, yes, of course, that situation where you're able to continue working and earn an income, but even that aside, you've made the conscious decision, okay, this is not working for me. How much of that decision making and that just learning what you don't want anymore and what's not working, and then obviously that starts the exploration of what you do want and what makes my heart sing and what's my calling or whatever you want to call it. How much of that incorporates into easing, I guess, for want of another word, the actual menopause process. So obviously there's some there's some changes there with your work and family and for some, all sorts of things there. But that obviously that's tapping into your spiritual side, your emotional side, because all that stress of going to a job that you don't no longer have the passion for, that makes you tired. That's stressful. You're quite often overworking in today's society. So you're physically, then your diet is not happening. All those extra things that contribute to that. Do you feel that that's sort of a hand in hand, I guess,
Yeah, and
with that journey?
yeah, and I'd like to touch on it. I think that's also for men though as well. I don't think that's just for women. And because I think it's we get to that stage of our lives where is this what we want to do for the rest of our lives? And maybe some people do. And some people are like, okay, no, it's time for a change. But the interesting thing is, while that was happening, I was trying to get my business started at the same time as I was still working. But I was very highly in tune while that was all going on for whatever reason. Yeah, I was really in tune with myself, and I mean, I had the stress and everything, and physically I probably wasn't paying as much attention to my physical self, but in my spiritual journey I was in real high attunement, I suppose you call it.
Yeah,
Because I was trying to make that shift.
yeah. And how
Mm.
much do you think that helped you physiologically with your menopause and that part of your journey, being in tune with yourself intuitively and having that self-awareness from
Mm.
that perspective? Do you think that sort of
I mean,
correlated with your?
yeah, honestly, I think I probably didn't look after myself as in the physical as much as I could have
Yeah,
because I had so much going on. And yeah, it was all at a time where, my son was finishing school, my brother was unwell, my mum then wasn't unwell, and then I had my work, and then I was trying to start my business, but I was definitely expanding and exploring the whole spiritual side. But my body was more, I was aware of what was going on, but I probably didn't give it as much love as it needed. And then I ended up with probably a couple of years ago a thyroid condition where I had to take some time out and I had to start listening. And that's become more aware lately as well. So yeah, just reminding myself to do the things for myself as well. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, my life has changed in a lot of ways
Beautiful.
because it's been like 2 years since I gave up that job. And yeah, I am looking after myself a lot better, and I
That's
do what I like when I like.
Yeah, and that's so inspiring for your clients and for anyone else out there listening to really listen to your heart, regardless of what age you're at and what situation you're at. Listen to your heart, listen to your intuition and your discernment, and go with what makes you happy. Because ultimately, life is short, regardless of what age and what phase we're going through. And if we don't know what's around the corner, we don't know what's as they say, tomorrow's not. There's no guarantees.
Mm,
So yeah, don't take the bull by the horns and really and I love the fact that you did that, and now you don't have that job that you once would have thought was unfathomable that you'd even not be in that industry or not have that job. And I've done the same. Like how am I going to survive? How am I going to bring income in? Or what's going to happen? There's so many unknowns, but you got to almost
yeah.
not literally,
And,
but
and
jump off the
and
cliff. Yeah,
that transition is quite scary. And yeah, I think I spoke about it on my website. It's that transition of like, okay, that has been my 9 to 5. Now I want to do this, and that transition is quite scary. But I think yeah, the universe has a plan, and wherever it takes you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
And I guess I need to emphasise there that what you've gone through and the changes that you've made, it doesn't have to be as dramatic for everyone out there. Like some people might be well and truly happy with
Mm,
a lot of aspects of their life, so it doesn't have to be. It's just a matter of taking that time to go, okay, well, am I happy? Ask the questions, and what's working for me, what's not working for me, and is there small or incremental or large changes I need to make to make my heart sing and fill my cup up, and either rediscover that joy if it's not in your life, and then by having your own internal being happy within yourself, then that I know energetically what a difference that makes to your outside world and how you perceive things. And if you're a bit disgruntled, or you're not happy, or you might be playing the victim or whatever it is, everything reflects back on that, doesn't it? As opposed to if you're happy and you've got high vibrations and you're in gratitude and everything else, then again life will reflect back on that, and the universe seems to listen.
I think everyone has their ups and downs, and I like to say not every day is about fluffy bunnies and rainbows and unicorns, because it's like life is happening, and you just got to go with the flow and try and make the best of it. Next month I'm talking more about our identity and our my article will be about empowering. So I'm writing a bit for Holistic Bliss at the moment, and so each month I have a different theme. Next month I'd like to talk about empowering women. So we'll see where that takes us. I haven't written it, but
So Holistic Bliss magazine, we're both aware of. That's it's mainly an online magazine now, isn't it?
Yes.
It used to be a physical magazine, but obviously times change. But I love your articles. They're very insightful and informative, and it's fantastic. So if anyone wants to, I'll give a plug for Holistic Bliss,
it's a beautiful magazine. And when they were in print even years ago, I was on my way to work. I'll be picking one up, and that would inspire me to get through the day. And
for sure,
it's a great.
It's always
magazine.
Informative, and I love that it brings with it so many different perspectives and different viewpoints from all different walks of health in general. So there might be some spiritual people, writers, some medical writers, some holistic writers. There's a whole bunch of things there. So there's something in there for everybody.
There's a wide space for anything you really your heart could desire, which is great because there's something for everyone.
That's right, and I think while we're on that subject, you mentioned before finding out what we don't want anymore. Something like reading Holistic Bliss magazine, for example. And I'm not getting paid to plug this at all, but it's a beautiful magazine where you might not even know what it is that you want or what's ready for you until you read it, until you suddenly open the page up and go, oh, that resonates so deeply. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps now. And that's how quite often we'll discover what it is that we do want. Once we've let go of the old identities and what we don't want, we go, oh, where's that been all my life? And suddenly there's that passion ignites inside of you.
Yeah. So I mean, like I a lot of like even my social media will say remember her, meaning remembering ourselves, like who are you, who did you come here to be, just remember why you came here, remember her, remember why.
Yes.
What is your why? And
beautiful.
Not everyone can answer that just so quickly, but it's because you have to go and explore to do that and find out, well, what is it I want from life, and what is it I like doing and I don't like doing.
And that taps in on a really good point, Lucy, that we are it is all a journey, and sometimes we can have expectations that there needs to be a result out of this, or we need to what's my goal, because that's how we've sort of been brought up, and that a lot of times that works for us. Having goals and intentions and expectations is fine, but then letting go of that and just enjoying the journey and embracing it and having trust and faith that everything's going to be fine. I'm not there yet, and there's no timeline or definitive sort of time frame where I've got to achieve this or I've got to achieve that, or particularly when it's a deep thing of why am I here, what's my journey, what's my calling, what trying to find yourself, that expectation that and that pressure that we put on ourselves to suddenly ask that question and then want that answer tomorrow. Like, that's not how it works. And I've found in my personal journey is that it's been really, the more I've embraced that, I don't want to even see the finish line in many ways, because I'm enjoying the journey day to day. Who wants the finish line? Because at the end of the day, we're here, we're constantly learning, we're continually growing and evolving. There is no finish line.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. That's my favorite phrase ever. It's the work. Someone says, "How's it going?" It's a work in progress. It's like, it's just happening, evolving, and see where it takes us.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Lucy, thank you very much for joining me today. I've just got a few questions to sort of wind us down, I guess. So you've touched a little bit on what this question entails, but what inspires you to do what you do? And so what is your why? That's the crux of the question.
Okay. So my why is about helping women in the midlife phase, and I think the reason that I'm in that is because I'm actually going through it myself, and I have been probably for the last 5 or 6 years. And I suppose I was looking for something that would help me, and in doing so, I want to help other people, but they at the same time, like they're helping me. Like, even like when I see a client, there'll always be something in it for me. It's not I like to say it's all about the client, but there's healing processes in it for me as well. And that's what I do, and I think because I'm going through it, I can resonate with those people as well. And so that's why
Beautiful.
I do what I do.
I love that, and that's a probably important thing too. Like, it is a two-way street, isn't it? Like, even though we can be as giving as we want, and we can have our sole intention to help the client in your example, but there's always something that we learn. If we keep our minds open and our hearts open, that even if you're not a practitioner of any sort, when we're sharing time with someone, be ready to receive and be open to that, because we might be sitting there holding space, listening to someone, and it might be that little nugget that they say that resonates, and you go, oh, thank you for sharing that, because I've got the same, or so thank you for sharing that.
And just having those open conversations, and I think that's why I do what I do, is because I think there wasn't much that I could find that was going to help me. And I suppose creating that is helping me and helping others. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so, what are the keys to happiness, peace, and being all of you?
Oh, okay.
It's a deep question, multi-level. But
that's a deep one, really. I'll try and answer that. I'm happiest at home. I love being at home. That's personally. I love seeing clients. I am a bit of an introvert, so my quiet time is quite important, that I have that, so I can just restore my energy and get back out there. Finding joy, and I think because of my life experiences so far, it's taught me that, like you said, tomorrow's not promised, and we just got to live the best life that we can. And that's, in fact, I went on a course, it was earlier in the year, and one of them was I think we were doing some kind of meditation, but it was like a commitment to my life this year is about finding that life and experiencing joy, and looking for that. So
that's beautiful, and that sort of I guess bounces off what you said earlier, looking for that joy and that what's good in your life, rather than that focus of what's going wrong, or what's not happening the way we'd like it to be. That change in perspective can mean so much, can't it? And you can't find the joy if you're not looking for it. I think
Well,
that's
you're
a
just,
fair.
yeah, what is, there's a, I think it's a Rumi quote. What is seeking you? How does it go? What you are seeking is seeking you. I think that was
Yes.
something like that. Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And so, last but not least, but where can people find you online? I know we've talked about your
Okay.
company. Yeah.
So my social medias, Lulu Belle Therapies, on Instagram and Facebook. I have also got a website, lulubelletherapies.com.au. And so the Women's Midlife Collective is actually on the website as well. And yeah, any woman who would like to join that, that's fine. We have a private Facebook group. And in that Facebook group, we talk about different things. We usually have a speaker once a month. We share once a week. What else do we do? We have the spiritual walking meditation, and then we have the circles. So yeah, if people want to join the Women's Midlife Collective, they can either do it through Facebook or through from the website, or it'll push them through to Facebook. And yeah, and then I've also got my Chakra Harmony Empowering Midlife Woman course, which is on the on the website as well.
Website. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll put those links
awesome,
down below when we upload this. So yeah. Well, thank you
awesome.
very much, Lucy, for joining me today. It's been yeah. I think for me personally, having my wife gone through a lot of the things you've talked about today, really resonated with me. And it was, we've known each other for a while, but I love what you do to help ladies. As I said before, someone like yourself wasn't around for us, and we didn't have that opportunity. So I think it's really important and so valuable for ladies out there and their partners, to that you provide that platform and that space for them to go to. So, but thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you so much for all your love and that what you're doing for people out there. It's amazing and you're inspiring as well, because you're living your best life, and that alone is, even if it's not, if people don't directly need you, just by listening to someone that's doing something that makes your heart sing, that energy comes out. And yeah, we need more people like yourself in the world to help that
So,
shift happen.
yeah. Oh, thanks, Billy. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, it's so great we can connect in this way. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and sharing the love, and sharing everyone's stories, because there's so much importance in everybody's stories. And yeah, everybody's got a story. And I truly believe that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
thanks so much for having me.
no worries. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.